everybody, welcome back to my channel. I hope everybody's doing well. Thank you so much for joining me today. I know I keep teasing you with those beautiful beach scenes, but you know what? I'm so ready for warmer temperatures. Spring will be here before you know it, and then it'll be summer, and now's the time to get ready for summer by making some gorgeous jewelry. So today we're going to make that beautiful memory wire bracelet that you saw in the introduction, and it's going to be a very easy project. I know you're going to enjoy it, and I can't remember how long it's been since I've made a memory wire bracelet. It's been months. I want to say maybe a year. I don't know. I think what happened is that I got myself burnt out because back in 2020, I think it was around September of 2020, I launched a product called the Coil Buddy. And prior to launching that product, I spent months doing research and looking into how to develop it, getting a patent for it. It was actually a provisional patent. And then I also spent a whole bunch of time researching memory wire. So I kind of got burned out on it. Don't get me wrong, I love memory wire bracelets and I love making them, but I took a long break from that because honestly, I was too busy trying to assemble the Coil Buddy because I was getting a lot of orders for it. And if you own one of them, thank you so much for buying it. I really appreciate you trying it out because it really does help you make memory wire bracelets. It really does. Now, I know many of you probably don't know what the Coil Buddy is, so let me give you a little bit of background. I developed it back in 2020 because I was looking for something to help me create memory wire bracelets. You know how tricky it is to make a memory wire bracelet. You start loading beads and then you figure out that you don't have enough beads or you need some other kind of bead and you don't have enough to go around the coil. It's a real big hassle. So I came up with this idea of a Coil Buddy guide. It's actually a guide. It's not a beading board, okay? A lot of people got confused with that. It's a guide. It's kind of like a pattern, okay? It's very similar to the bead patterns that you might buy on Etsy, except that it's not a downloadable, okay? It actually takes a lot of effort assembling the Coil Buddy. It took me months to figure out the guidelines on it and where I was going to score it and pleat it. Basically what I do is I start out by printing it on my machine and then I trim it to size and insert it into my Cricut machine so that the Cricut machine can score each of the pleats. Once the pleats are scored, I then manually fold each one by one. After that's done, I reinforce the back of the pleats and then I attach it to a chipboard along with some other layers. Once that's assembled, I then cut some rods to size and put them in a bag along with some stoppers. And once that's done, I insert the whole thing into a cellophane bag along with some treats and some instructions. And then I insert the entire thing into a crush-proof box. Needless to say, it's very exhausting assembling a Coil Buddy and it takes me forever. And as you can imagine, by the time I pay for materials and shipping and everything, I'm not really gaining much of a profit, which I don't mind because I feel like I'm helping out the community. So anyway, guys, I know that was a long story, but I wanted to give you a little bit of background for those of you who are not familiar with it. I have made some videos. I think I made 4 or 5 videos on the Coil Buddy, and I'll go ahead and link them down below. I'm also going to leave the link to my Etsy store if you're interested in looking into the product. But you're not going to need the Coil Buddy for today's project, okay? I don't want you to be disappointed in thinking you can't make today's bracelet because you certainly can without the Coil Buddy, okay? I think the most valuable thing about the Coil Buddy are the rods, to be quite honest, okay? I use them all the time. I know you've seen some of my tutorials and you've seen me use them. I feel the rods are probably more valuable than the Coil Buddy itself because they help you align bead patterns. They help you figure out what you need to create bracelets and necklaces. And you can actually buy them separately. I do offer 2 sizes, 9-inch and 12-inch. So if you're not interested in the Coil Buddy, you can certainly buy the rods by themselves. But anyway, guys, I don't want to keep talking. I do want to remind you about the timestamps down below. I always leave them down below in case you want to skip forward to any portion of the video. And also, if you're new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe and don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you can be notified the next time I release a video. So anyway, guys, I think I jumped ahead of myself because I didn't even tell you what we're going to be using today. We're going to be using the beads from the Curated Bead box for the month of March. And if you're not familiar with that box, I'll leave a link down below so you can go check it out. And if you don't subscribe to that box, don't worry because I'll leave a list of all the materials down below in the description section of this video. So without any further ado, let's go ahead, turn the camera around and we'll get started. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Here's the box. As you can see, the name of the box is Sea Jewels. Let's pick the beads. Now I've already been into this box and played around with some of the beads, so some of the beads are actually missing. But let me pull out the strands that we're going to be using. We're going to definitely be using this one here, okay? As you can see, these are crackle beads and they're clear and they have yellowish lime green splotches, as you can see. But for the most part, they're clear and I love the crackle effect. We're also going to be using these. I love these. These are so beautiful. These are the 8mm turquoise swirl marble style glass beads. And as you can see, they have various shades of blue. They also have white. I definitely want to use one of these. I'm not going to use too many because these are rather large, okay? And the memory wire that we're going to be using is pretty thin. So I think we're only going to use one of these. And I do want to use a couple of the green beads from this bag here. I think I'm going to use these two because it'll pick up the green from the 6mm beads. And of course we will be using some of these charms. I'm thinking of using both of these. These are so adorable. Let me go ahead and get the finding starter kit, okay? We're going to be using the memory wire from this kit, and this memory wire is 0.6mm thick, okay? So it's not very thick at all, and it's not going to support very heavy beads. That's why I'm using the smaller beads today. We're also going to be using a couple of jump rings to attach the charms. And we're going to be using some head pins as well. And that's it from this box. So here's my focal bead. Now I'm not going to take the beads off the strand, okay? I'm just going to leave them on the strand and offload right from the strand, okay? That's the easiest way to do memory wire bracelets. And here are my other beads. And here are my 2 green beads. So these are the beads that we're going to be using, but I want to add a couple of other things. I want to find some bead caps for these 3 beads here, okay? And I have a bag of bead caps here that I purchased a long time ago. And I need a couple of large ones for this one here. So let me see if I can find a couple of large bead caps. So I'm thinking this one here. Let's see if it fits. It looks like it fits pretty good. I want the bead cap to sit nicely on that bead without sticking out too much, okay? And that looks pretty good. So now I need to find a matching one. And here's another one that looks the same. Okay, so I'm going to use these 2 for this one here. Now for these 2, I'm going to use some different kind of bead caps. Let me go ahead and put these away. I have some bead caps here that are filigree bead caps, and they're really lightweight, and that's what I like about them. So let's see how they fit on these beads. It looks like they fit pretty nicely, as you can see, okay? So I'm going to need 4 of them. There's 2. And I'm going to need another 2 for this one. So here are the beads that I'm going to be using, and we're going to go ahead and get started. Let me go ahead and show you the Coil Buddy. Okay, so here it is. It's just a guide, as you can see, okay? It's assembled on chipboard, like I showed you earlier, okay? And it's not a beading board, guys, okay? This is a guide, just like any other pattern that you might buy on Etsy. A bead pattern, this is kind of like that, okay? It's a little bit more heavy duty than that because obviously it's assembled on different layers, multiple layers, okay? It has pleats, as you can see. It's heavy cardstock. I believe the cardstock is 65 pounds, something like that. And of course the chipboard is a lot harder. I'm not sure of the density, but it's pretty hard. But anyway, guys, before we get started, I just want to emphasize you don't need this guide, okay? I'm going to tell you exactly how many beads you're going to need, so you don't have to do any math, you don't have to count any beads. But I wanted to show you the Coil Buddy because this is what I use to assemble my memory wire bracelets, okay? I'm just being honest. I use this to help me with the design of the bead patterns and to line multiple rows, okay? As you can see, it has a whole bunch of pleats, and these are just mainly there so that you can hold the rods up against the guidelines, okay, to make sure that you have the correct measurements. And as you can see, I have measurements for 55, 60, and 65 millimeters. So basically, each one of these lengths from this guideline to this guideline equals the circumference of a memory wire coil. And we are going to be using the 60 millimeter circumference because that's what came in the finding starter kit. Okay, that's the most common type of memory wire. So anyway, we don't need this just yet. Let me go ahead and get the rods. Here are the rods. I have 3 of them because I'm going to make a 3-row bracelet, okay, or a 3-coil bracelet. The actual Coil Buddy Kit comes with 5 rods, okay, and stoppers, and these are not your regular silicone earring stoppers, okay. I know it looks the same, but these have very tiny holes, okay. You can try using regular earring stoppers, but you'll find out that the holes are way too big and they slide right off. These are designed to fit right on these rods, okay. And like I said, I'm only going to use 3 of them because that's how big I want my bracelet to be, okay? So I always start with the center of the bracelet, okay, whatever the center is. And with memory wire bracelets, if you don't want them to be distorted, you have to put the big ones, the heavier ones, in the middle of the bracelet and the smaller ones on the outer coils, okay? So let's go ahead and start with the center of the bracelet, and this is going to be the focal bead. I'm going to take one of my rods, remove the stopper, and like I said, I want to put a bead cap on that bead. So let me load the bead cap and the bead and the other one. And that looks pretty good. Okay. And on either side of that, I want to put a green bead. So let me go ahead and put a bead cap. So there's that side, okay. And now I'm going to go ahead and put my stopper on because I'm going to load the other side, the other end. So let me take the stopper off, load a bead cap, this bead, and the other bead cap. And let's take a look at that. That looks pretty good, okay. So if you were doing this on a beading board, obviously you would do the same thing. You would lay it down, put your bead caps up against your beads, see if that's what you want. The only trouble with beading boards is that sometimes the bead caps won't sit upright like this, okay? But anyway, I like this very much, and I'm going to continue to load beads. So now what I want to do is I want to switch to the blue color, okay? So we started with the blue in the middle, then we went to the green, and now we're going to switch to the blue again, okay? So let me go ahead and take this strand now. And instead of removing the beads, what I'm going to do is offload a stack of them, say 3 of them, load them onto the rod like this, all at once, okay? And I like that. I think it looks really nice. Let me go ahead and grab another 3, load them on, and take a look. So once I figure out how many beads I'm going to need to the left, I'm going to go ahead and load the other side, but I think I need some more. So let me go ahead and grab some more. I'll grab another 3, and then I'll bring the guide out and we'll measure it. Let me put my stopper on. Let me bring the stoppers together so it holds everything nice and snugly, okay? And here's my guide. So now what I'm going to do is place the center bead on the center guideline, okay, just like this. And I'm going to take a look and see how many more beads I need to complete this side. Let me show you up close. So here's my center guideline. I'm looking over here. Now this would be good for a 55mm circumference, but I need 60, so I need to add at least 1 more bead here. So that's what I'm going to do. Let me go ahead and remove this stopper. Load 1 more bead onto it. Put my stopper back on. And now I'm going to count how many beads and load the same amount on this side. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So let me go ahead and go to this side now. Remove my stopper. And I'm going to go ahead and load 10 beads. Let me go ahead and secure it with a stopper so I don't lose the beads. Bring everything together. So there's 1 row of your memory wire bracelet. Let me go ahead and get the guide and put it on the guide to make sure that it fits within the guidelines, okay? As you can see, the center bead is right on the center guideline, and this last bead is right here on this guideline, which is the 60mm circumference. Same thing on this side, okay? Now this isn't foolproof, okay, but it definitely gets you within the vicinity, okay? So you don't have to offload beads and guess how many beads. Before I came up with a Coil Buddy, what would happen is that I would start loading beads onto the memory wire, and then I would find out that I don't have enough beads to complete a row, and then I'd have to offload and go find a different kind of bead and load them back on and figure it out. It was just a big hassle. And the reason I came up with this Coil Buddy is because I went out looking for something that would help me, and there was nothing on the market. And so that's why I came up with this idea of having a memory wire bracelet guide. It does have a US patent pending status, okay? I do want to have it manufactured in a different kind of material eventually, but for now, I'm the one who's assembling it, and you know, I'm a small company, and this is the best I can do right now because I don't want to invest any money on trying to have it mass produced. So anyway, guys, that's the middle row, okay? And now we're going to go ahead and load beads for 2 more rows, 1 above and 1 below. I'm not going to do any more than 3 rows. So once again, I'm going to remove the stopper, and let's go ahead and offload some of these beads. And I'm doing 3 at a time because that's how many I can hold. So I'm just going to keep loading the beads until I get a length that would equal the circumference of another coil, okay? Okay, I've loaded this rod and I'm putting my stopper on. And basically what I did is I used this rod as a guide, okay? I loaded just enough beads to equal the length of this one, but let me go ahead and get the guide just to make sure. Okay, so here it is. Let me put my rod on top and take a look at the beads. And what I'm looking at here is the guidelines, this 60mm guideline right here, and the one on this side. And it looks like the beads fit within those 2 guidelines, so that's good. So this row is going to sit below this one. Now I'm going to go ahead and load another rod just like this one. Okay, I'm putting my stopper on this one now. Let me bring everything together. So here are my 3 rods, and I think it looks really gorgeous. I think what I'm going to do though is find some bead caps for the beginning and the end of the bracelet for these tiny beads. Okay, so let me go see if I can find some small bead caps. I found these 2 small bead caps. They're about 4mm, maybe 5mm across, okay? And I want to use them at the beginning and the end of the bracelet just to give it a more finished look. And here's the memory wire that came in the Finding Starter kit. Now I've worked with memory wire a lot, and I can tell you that if you see a coil that is out of place like this one, you should try to avoid it, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and snip this one off. And whenever you snip memory wire, you should use memory wire cutters, guys, okay? Never use regular cutters because they'll get ruined if you do. So this looks a little bit better and it won't be so distorted once you load the beads, okay? Now you don't have to be that picky. You can just use it as is. It's just that I've worked with memory wire so much that that's what I prefer to do. If I see a coil that's skewed out of place, I remove it. I don't use it. So now we're going to form 1 loop at the end of this coil. Now I know we're only going to do 3 rows, but I'm not going to cut it just yet, okay? I'm going to wait till the end to cut it. And I always use memory wire finishing pliers, okay? These are by Bead, and these are great for forming loops on memory wire because memory wire is very hard, okay? And these really definitely do help. Plus the barrels are not cone shaped, they're straight, so that makes it even better. So basically you're going to take your memory wire, and I form my loops a little bit differently than what you might have seen on different tutorials. I don't like to form the loop against the curve. I like to form it with the curve, okay? So I'm going to place my pliers right there on the end, and actually that little end looks a little rough. Let me cut it off. That's a little bit better. So anyway, you're going to place your pliers at the very end just like this, okay? And by the way, you can use regular round nose pliers if you want to, guys, okay? It's just a lot easier with the Bead finishing pliers. And now you're going to use your thumb. You're going to press down like this as you turn the plier to form a loop. And you want to do it a little bit at a time, just like this, until the loop closes, okay? Just like that. So now that we have the loop, now we can go ahead and load the beads. The first thing I'm going to load is a bead cap, okay? And I'm going to load it this way. Let me go ahead and move these up. Let me go ahead and remove the stopper, and as you can see, I'm holding down this end because I don't want the beads to slide out, okay? So here's how I do it, guys, okay? I hold the coil like this between my thumb and my index finger. I grab several beads at once and I load them directly onto the coil. Let me show you again. You want to hold down this end, grab several from this end, and load them on. Just like that, okay? Pretty easy and pretty straightforward. And because the rods hold the beads in alignment, I don't have to struggle looking for the holes of the beads. So I'm going to go all the way down till I get to the end of this row. Okay, I finished loading this row, and now I'm going to slide everything down. now I'm going to check to make sure that I have the correct amount of beads, and it looks like I do. Okay, it's definitely within the vicinity. Okay, it's not 100% perfect, but I think it's pretty good. So now I'm going to go ahead and load this next row. So once again, you want to hold on to this end, remove the stopper here from this end, hold your coil like this between your thumb and your index finger, and offload the beads from the rod to the memory wire. And I'm actually going to grab the bead caps and the bead all at once, just like this. See how easy that was? Okay. Same thing with this large one. Just like that. Now that I've loaded this row, I'm going to slide everything down and check the number of beads, make sure I have the right number of beads. And that looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. Okay. Let's go ahead and load this one now. Once again, you want to hold the memory wire like this, offload from the rod directly onto the memory wire in multiples. Okay, I loaded this row. Let me move everything down. Slide it all the way down. Actually, I need to load this bead cap. I forgot about this bead cap. Let me go ahead and move these rods out of the way. So basically, you want to slide everything down, make sure there are no spaces, okay? And once you've slid all the beads down and there are no spaces, check your rows, make sure that's what you want, and that looks pretty good to me, okay? I think it looks really nice. I love the combination of the green and the blue, so I'm pretty happy with this. So now what we need to do is cut off the excess, okay? And I know for the small barrel of these pliers, I need at least 1/2 inch of wire to form the loop. Here are my cutters. So basically what you want to do is you want to hold the beads just like this so they don't move, okay? And then go ahead and cut where you need to cut. Like I said, I'm going to leave myself about 1/2 inch. And now I'm going to come in here with the pliers and form a loop to close it off. So that looks pretty good, okay? So here it is, guys. Isn't it gorgeous? I love it, and I love how the rows line up. That's one of the nice things about the Coil Buddy. It really does help to have those guidelines so you can line up your rows, and then you don't have to guess how many beads you need for each row. So now that we've closed off the loops, we're going to add a couple of charms. We're going to use these two, and I think I want to add a bead to this one here. So here's a head pin, and I'm simply going to load this bead onto my head pin like this, and then this one here, like this. Now these head pins are really thick, so I'm not going to do a wrap loop. I'm just going to do a simple loop, okay? So I'm going to come in here with some flat nose pliers, and I'm going to kink it like that, 90 degrees. And I'm going to snip off the excess, leaving myself about 1/2 inch to 3/8 of an inch, something like that. And now let me go ahead and form a loop. Make sure you close your loop really well, okay? Here are a couple of jump rings. And now we're going to open up this jump ring. Hook this charm onto it, like this, and hook it onto one of these loops, like this. And now we're going to close it up really well. Just like that. That looks really cute. And now let's do this one. open up this jump ring. And now we're going to hook it onto this loop. And let's go ahead and connect this charm like this. Close it up. So here's this one. It looks really cute too. And this is your finished bracelet with the charms. Isn't it adorable, guys? I love it. It's so cute. And the colors are really pretty. It's definitely ocean themed, especially with these beads here, the blue ones. Let me go ahead and put it on. Now my wrists are really, really tiny, guys. Okay, so it's going to look funny on me, but I just wanted to show you what it looks like on. Okay, very cute. I wanted to show you just how small my wrists are, okay? Because one time somebody said that bracelet is way too big for you. Well, every bracelet's going to be big on me because I have very small wrists, all right? But anyway, guys, this would look really nice on an average size wrist, okay? And I think it's really adorable, and I hope you like it, and I hope you can make your own. And now I'm going to tell you how many beads you need for each row, okay? Okay, so for the green rows, this one and this one, you're going to need 35 of these 6mm beads, okay? And for the blue beads, you're going to need 20. So you're going to need 10 on this side, okay? And then another 10 on this side. And then, of course, you're going to need the large blue bead here, the 12mm bead, and these two 10mm green beads. And then, of course, you can always add the bead caps if you wanted to, okay? These are actually optional, but they do add a little bit to the overall length, okay? And then, of course, you can always finish it with a bead cap like I did as well, okay? On this end and on this end. It's completely up to you. But anyway, I will leave a list of all the materials down in the description with the exact number of beads that you need, okay? But anyway, I thought this bracelet turned out really gorgeous, and you saw how easy it was using the guide. I hope you like it as well, and I hope you can make your own. Isn't it gorgeous? Don't you love this bracelet? I love these colors. I love the crackle beads because they're clear and they look so nice with the blue beads. And even though this is an ocean theme, I can see myself wearing this in the springtime as well. I would have to swap out these charms and maybe put some flower charms or something. But we have the green, which reminds me of spring, and we have the gorgeous blue, which reminds me of blue skies. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. I hope you can go out and make your own bracelet. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.